What should I do with my I bonds? My advice is cut bait, punt, get rid of them, and I'm going to tell you why. About a year and a half ago, I was carnival barking on these radio waves that you ought to go out and get yourself some I bonds from the government. They were guaranteed to yield 9%.
Whoa.
Yeah, because of course they issue the forthcoming inflation rate prior to the issuance of the I bonds. So there was this window of time when individuals were able to buy I bonds that were just yielding tremendous rates of return. Fast forward 1 year later, because you're required to hold the bond for over a year, people are going, what do I do now? Because inflation is not as white hot as it was back in the end of 2021 and into 2022. So my advice is cut bait, punt, get rid of them. Most of you that have bought I bonds in the last year to 18 months have a fixed interest rate of next to nothing, right? Because an I bond has two different components. It has a fixed rate, which is, again, issued by the government, and it's issued for the life of the bond, and it's calculated based on the current interest rate environment. And if you remember what current interest rates were 18 months to 2 years ago, I mean, we were buying CDs that were yielding less than 1%. It was a zero interest rate environment. Well, we started to have this runaway inflation. Jerome Powell reacted by jacking up interest rates.
We understand the hardship that high inflation is causing, and we remain strongly committed to bringing inflation back down to our 2% goal.
Interest rates have since gone up over 300%, and newly issued I bonds are yielding about 1.3%, and my guess is that number will continue to increase so long as Jerome Powell keeps his foot on the gas pedal, which he shows a very willingness to do that. He just keeps quoting Paul Volcker in each one of his Fed Minute speeches. So these I bonds that you have on the books that you bought a year or two ago have a zero fixed interest rate. And then the second component of an I bond is the government-issued inflation rate. And the government-issued inflation rate is under 4% right now. So if you have an I bond that has a fixed component of 0% and an inflation component of 4%, well, that I bond's only going to make about 4% over the course of the next year, so long as inflation rates stay where they're at. Now, if you buy a newly issued I bond, you're going to make about 5.3% per year. So, what's my advice if you have a bond that's only going to pay you 4%? Get the heck out of it, because you can buy money markets that are yielding over 5%. You can buy CDs that are yielding 5.5%. You can buy fixed annuities that are yielding darn near 6%. So what do you have to do to get out of it? Well, you're going to take a 3-month haircut on interest. Well, what's 3 months of interest in the current interest rate environment? It's only about 1%. So you're going to claw back about 1%, but you made 9.5%. So they're going to claw back about 1% of their interest, and then you're going to have your money, and you can do whatever you see fit with it. That was a good investment for you in arrears. Mm-hmm. All right, you made 8-9% probably, or if not even more, depending on when you purchased them. So we still love I bonds. I bonds helped put me through college. But the beauty of I bonds is their liquidity, right? You can get out of them after 1 year and make a new business decision with them. Now, what is the business decision that we're telling people to make right now? Well, conventional wisdom would tell you that if you can get a money market yielding 5%, or you can lock up your money for 5 years and make 5.75%, most people are going to go, give me the 1 year money market at 5%. Mm-hmm. I believe all leading indicators are pointing to a recession. I think we're probably already in one. And I know people have been kind of saying a recession's coming, a recession's coming, a recession's coming, because all the leading indicators are pointing towards a recession. So what do you do in a recessionary environment? A recessionary environment where interest rates are relatively high at that. You kick the can down the road, you keep it simple, you keep it safe, you lock in rates of return unlike anything we've seen in the last 20 years. 5-year fixed annuities at 6%, 3-year brokered CDs pushing 6%, 5.7%-ish or so. That's the type of business decisions, in my opinion, individuals ought to be making. If you stick with the I bond, well, you're going to be stuck for a year at 4%. And then even when they renew the I bond, your fixed rate's 0. So I know this is a relevant topic to so many individuals out there because people were buying I bonds in droves. Now, there's something I can't help you on these radio waves with. Godspeed to you as you deal with Treasury Direct and the government.